It baffles me how people can take on a certain concept, ideology, or new term that hasn't been widely popular until recently and then act like it's the only doctrine of truth. So there are several trends I've noticed in the spiritual collective that drive me nuts. I pay attention, trust me. And some of these things weren't popular a few years ago. Others are tactics clearly used by psychics and energy healers to attract attention and new clientele. So let's talk about 4 trends in the spiritual community that I think are stupid. So before I give you the list of the 4, I have to first say that I know some of you may think that twin flames are a trend. And you know I'm famous for talking about twin flames. So I have made a career teaching about them. Of course, if you've read my recent writing on the subject and watched my videos, you know that this isn't true. I do not indulge in trends. I do my own research and I speak from my own experience. I adopt belief systems that I have vetted and studied, and the only concepts that feel worthy of my attention are those that have been around for a very long time, thousands of years. I approach all spiritual ideas with skepticism, and I recommend everyone do the same. I have a background in philosophy, so I approach all philosophical ideas and spiritual ideas with an analytical and logical mind. So if you agree that the following trends I'm about to tell you are annoying, let me know in the comments. So the first trend that I want to talk about is about timelines. So there's this trend now that people like to talk about shifting their timeline, elevating yourself to a higher timeline, as if there's an infinite number of timelines to choose from. And people sometimes use this term to refer to past lives. But it's unclear because sometimes it also is used to refer to your current life story and the modality of universes, alternate universes, right? But there's only one timeline, guys. It all gets very confusing and convoluted. But I have to tell you something. You can choose at any moment to transform yourself. You don't have to call it changing the timeline as a form of escapism from the current path you're on. Embrace your past and who you've been until now. Choose where you're headed from here on out, but no one can escape the past and erase their origin stories. You have to embrace cause and effect, which is the law of the universe we live in. You reap what you sow. There's a thing called karma. The universe makes sure that whatever you've done before will shape who you are in this life or the next, unless you actively choose to work off that karma and make new choices to balance it out. You cannot simply jump to a new timeline and skirt all of your responsibilities and forget your past. Timelines are a way for people to dissociate from the past. However, I don't recommend this. You can't deny where you've been and who you've become until now. So embrace the timeline you've always been on, who you truly are, and don't try to deny all the things you've done that have brought you to this moment, even if some of them may seem undesirable. They are part of your path. The second trend I want to talk about is about energy that's heavy. So spiritual advisors on the internet, I've noticed, love to appeal to your weak and fearful side by telling you how awful it is to be human right now. A lot of people struggle daily with mental health and various crises in their personal lives. So it's a good bet that when you scream, "The energy is heavy right now, do you feel that too?" You will get a lot of responses affirming these feelings. There are people on my social media feeds who continually gain followers by telling people over and over how heavy the energy is and that this is a period of confusion for everyone, inevitably gaining the attention of anyone who's having a really hard time. Some examples are Mercury in retrograde or other astrological events, or the fact that we're evolving at a breakneck pace. How would we know the difference? Because we're here, we're in it. But guess what? This is a negative message that helps no one when you tell people the energy's heavy. It's also not even true. Sometimes in life are hard and sometimes are easy. But it's not because some outside force is causing all of us to lose our minds. There's no mind controlling energy that is pulling you into darkness. Life can be very hard if you have the mindset about it, and it can be amazing too. And there's also hard times in our lives that we have to get through. So it's called the law of attraction. Your outer experience reflects what's inside you. Sometimes that's not true. There are some destined events that you must go through that are very difficult and you didn't cause them for yourself. You didn't attract them. But there is also a law of attraction. It's a real thing. It just doesn't control everything that happens to you. But I'll talk about that in another video. So when people say that the energy is heavy, such as during recent eclipses, I often think to myself, that's funny. I have been feeling great lately. And I wonder why they're ascribing their own misery to everyone else in the spiritual community. They claim that if you're highly sensitive and empathic, you must be going through a meltdown basically all the time. But I'm psychic and I don't allow my moods to swing at the whim of astrological or energetic forces outside me. So do you ever hear them say that the energy is light and wonderful right now? Pay attention and ask the important questions. Be discerning. And appeal to your fear response will always win on the internet. The third trend that I want to talk about is the fact that people ascribe magic to the word occult. So the use of the word occult has morphed over time, and now it means something very twisted from its true definition. The occult is about lesser known aspects of reality and inner journeys of truth. But people have made it synonymous with witchcraft and magic and other concepts that reflect their attachments to things outside themselves. There are occultists who do not practice any kind of magic, and they focus on inner alchemy. The answers you seek are within, and your solutions to your problems do not lie in spells and rituals. Esotericism is about the unseen and wisdom on the inner planes. Occultists aren't witches and magicians. They are instead people who study philosophy of the ages to determine the best way to exist in this world so that humanity can evolve. Occult practices don't have to be about manipulating things and people. It can be about working on the self. So to skip over the important lessons of occult studies about inner truth and soul evolution is folly. To use its teachings about the manipulation of energy and magic without understanding the purpose of life is a misuse of valuable wisdom. Your powers and abilities are far less important in this world than your inner wisdom. Pursue knowledge before you pursue magic. Understand the self. Transform your inner world before you try to change what's outside you. The third trend I want to talk about is ego death. So the ego cannot really die. I think most people who use the term ego death already know this, but to someone hearing it for the first time, it may be confusing. We don't want to set people on the wrong path early in their spiritual awakening journey. So the loss of the ego attachments is not about killing anything, but about embracing the destructive parts of you alongside the spiritual aspects. The ego is an important aspect of human life as it allows us to evolve as individuals, and we can operate on this plane if we have some experience of separateness. But we must transcend this level of consciousness, ascending to a plane where we can accept that the lower parts of ourselves are as important as the higher parts. From the perspective of a higher level of consciousness, the ego attaches itself to material possessions and relationships out of self-preservation, and this causes suffering. To release this fear is to shed the ego's attachments and set it aside. You don't want the ego to die. When the ego dies, this story of your life is over. At your human level death. This is not the end for the soul, the ego will be completely shed at the time of your death here in this lifetime. So as a soul, you are reborn on a whole new journey, continuing the evolutionary ascension that you've been working on for many lifetimes. And you've had many egos before, but you just don't remember them. Don't kill your ego. It's what makes you unique in this life and allows you to do the work you came here to do. So I'm Emily. My website is wellnessoneness.com, where you can find many of my articles, videos, my books, and you can schedule a spiritual guidance session with me or a reading. So I look forward to working with you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.